Let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Could I get, sorry. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving forward, let us get to number 4, resident comments and questions. Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Bueller? Anybody? Reports. Your chiefness, Chief Dan Meyer, Fire Chief Extraordinaire, Carver Fire. It's just killing time before you got up there.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Not a lot going on. We're getting ready for our event that's coming up on in May on the 20th at 9 to noon, which is going to be up at the fire station. It's a safety event for kids. It's in partnership with the Sheriff's Office and Mike's Bikes, and there's all kinds of people involved. There's some car seat checks and different things going on, so that's pretty much all we have. Unless you got any questions on my report for calls. Is there any other questions? Still taking applications. So we got one application for another firefighter that's on Chaska Fire right now. It actually lives in our fire district, so we're just waiting for a few more applications to start the interview process. So,
Is that the one we met with?
nope, different one, another one.
Outstanding. That's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your excitement. Just temper it, Chief.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for the Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
You got drill tonight? Yep. All right, get at it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Save lives, hero. We have a report in our packet from Corporal. Oh, sure. Want some attention, Frank? From Corporal, did he just recently become a corporal? Did he pass the test? Or has he always been a corporal?
No, he's always been a corporal.
All right,
Well, not always, but for some time now.
Started a corporal. Anyway, Corporal McKirahan is out ill tonight, so if anybody has any questions on the packet, please make note, and we'll get the answer from Mr. McKirahan. We have no public hearing. Oh, we do have a public hearing. I take that back. 6.1, could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to open the public hearing concerning the vacation of drainage and utility easements at Carver Square. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet is Resolution 11517, vacating certain easements in the Carver Square development. This is essentially a cleanup resolution. These easements were originally platted within that initial plat for Carver Square. With the Carver Dental plat, there are some new easements, so the vacation, which is shown in your packet and on the screen, are for the two areas marked, at least on the screen with the red arrow. A vacation of easements does require a public hearing, and so that's what we're having tonight. The memo was prepared by Cindy Nash, but she's not available tonight, so I'm covering in her absence. So happy to answer any questions that you might have, or I might float some of them to Dan, depending upon the question.
Does anyone have any questions concerning Carver Square vacation of drainage and utility easements? I think protocol leave it open for a little bit, and we'll see where we're at. Make a note. All right. Could I get a motion on this consent agenda, please?
Make a motion and we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving forward to unfinished business, none. New business, Mr. Merrick.
So, Mayor and Council, this is a kind of a debriefing of our listening session from March the 27th. So tonight, as kind of per our work plan for this process, was to kind of debrief, get some council observations from the listening session and comments, and then direct staff to do any additional research related to any of the options or new options, et cetera. I do have some additional comments that were received after the listening session, so to be consistent, I'm going to read these comments. I think we have about four of them. First one is from Emily Stoddart, 832 Ramsey Avenue. Option 1, or a version of option 2, which is the rehabilitation using the existing building. I would like to keep the gym. I think that our taxes are high already, and I'm concerned about spending that much money when there are other improvements around town that could be done. We also have Chaska and Victoria so close with nice facilities we can use for now. Those towns have the tax base for the major buildings, but I don't think we are able to get there yet. Maybe after some more growth, but not yet. I also think we can see what kind of a partnership we can have with the school. I have seen the plans and they are beautiful, and schools are rarely used in the evenings of space is needed for meetings, etc. I don't know if that's even possible. Again, that's Emily Stoddart, 832 Ramsey Avenue. Next comment is from Debbie Hartley. I feel the village hall should remain in the downtown. I did go to the open house. Option 1 or 2 would both be okay. Option 2 might be preferable as it could use some fixing up. Seems like a lot of office space, but with some offices there, I don't know what else would work there. Elevator would be nice for the elderly and handicapped. Either option would be less of a burden on taxpayers and keep the historic downtown more involved. Will the decision be made according to the majority of the people, or has a choice already been decided on? Would be nice if it could stay downtown. Debbie Hartley. Next comment, Mark Johnson, 718 Reescraft Road. My preference is the repair Village Hall option. It is truly unfortunate that the existing Village Hall did not get needed maintenance. However, I don't think the case has been made that we need a new 16,000 square foot town hall with a 165 vehicle parking lot right now. Over a 20-year period, each of these new town hall options would add an additional $6,000 to $7,500 to the already very high property tax on a $300,000 Carver home. It is encouraging to see housing construction in Carver has recently picked up, and a couple of small businesses are finally moving into Carver. If this growth trend continues, then perhaps Carver will grow enough to justify a new town hall in the future. However, no one can tell if this trend will continue as mortgage rates and interest rates rise. In the meantime, I think the existing town hall provides a serviceable option. Mark Johnson, 718 Reescraft Road. And then finally, Karen Ellingson, 615 Griffin Circle. It would really be an end to downtown Carver to move the city hall out of the downtown. The parking downtown is limited, but a central gathering spot downtown keeps the downtown viable. $300 plus a year to home buyers is a big price tag. Karen Ellingson, 615 Griffin Circle.
Thank you. Does anyone have any information or questions that we talked a little bit at our work session earlier about financing, the things of that nature, and questions that people need to get answered, or anything that you want to bring up at this particular time?
I have a laundry list.
Speak to me. Don't speak to me, speak to people who can answer them.
Yeah. So just things that came up between last week and where we're at right now. The listening session last week, there were some questions about if the existing building is historical, and you mentioned doing a full analysis of that. Questions about that, just following up on that. Do we know if there's any asbestos in that building?
Any what?
Asbestos?
You really do have a lot.
I did a laundry list. The water treatment plant site, I'm curious as to exactly where the floodplain hits there. When Cindy was here, she talked about the timeline for each of the options. I think that there may be some, I think, I seem to remember her saying something like even option number 1 would take a year. I think that I'm curious to what the timeline is for each of the options, because I think that even option 1 isn't a quick fix by any means, timeline-wise. I'm curious to learn more about the tax capacity issues. And then my final question is, with the tax increase, is this something that the new developments, like the Trinity development and the Hartman development, could they be scared away by something like this, especially given the point in the process where they're at?
Can you, the previous question, tax capacity issues, can you speak to what you mean by that?
Yeah, where this would put us in terms of where we're at for a tax capacity, and probably more information about other anticipated taxable items that could be coming down the road if we went, if we went for the highest, you know, if we went for rebuilding at a new site, and what else could also be coming along that we should keep in mind and be.
You mean, are we talking about tax rate or tax capacity?
Yeah, hey, well, we got this, thanks.
Talking about bonding limits?
You know, here's where I think, and I haven't talked to Courtney about this, but to piggyback on that question, whether it's tax capacity, tax bonding, we talk and we've gotten a lot of comments about growth, and let's wait to see let's wait 10 years where we can afford this. And if you take for lack of a better number, let's come up with $8 million for a new building. Let's wait 10 years. What does that $8 million exact same building cost in 10 years? And let's take the growth that we have. We have a $388 payment on an $8 million building for a 20-year bond rate right now. As we grow, we have Trinity, we have Hartman, and that will have a population growth of X over the next 3 to 8 years. Actually, probably 1 to 4. What does that make for ease and simplicity, rather than get into tax capacity and bonding and all of the other things? What does that turn your $388 payment into, based upon the projected growth moving forward? And if we waited till we had more people here, and I think the understanding is that as we have more people, that payment goes down. The only way that payment goes down is if we do it now and we add more people. And I think those numbers, am I accurate in at least hitting that
No.
thought process?
No.
That's mine. So let's go back to Courtney. I thought.
So my question, in Lori Economy Scholler, and I'm sure I'm butchering her name, and I'm sorry.
Roland. Yeah.
Oh, okay. She brought up the tax capacity issues and something, I didn't pull it up, but
net-
something about we're at 80%.
Debt limit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
Well,
that's a concept that's new to me.
Got it.
And she's concerned about it. I just want to learn more about it,
Sure.
where we're at, how much room we have.
Sure.
it's the same, it's similar, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like an 80% loan to value on a mortgage. Similar.
So that's mentioned briefly in Springstead's analysis that we're fine under the net debt limits, but what we can do is expand that conversation and research and have Paul available to answer questions related to that.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know where you were going with that.
No, I'm done.
There's a lot of writing on there, but
I'm a list maker.
Monroe, you have anything?
Yeah. Since it was a listening session, I would like to talk about what I heard. I think what I heard the most was our residents do not have an appetite for a brand-new building at this time. That being said, if we were to, I am totally not in favor of repairing Village Hall. But, so if we're going to do anything with Village Hall, I'm thinking we renovate it. And we renovate it with this in mind, that we will be selling it at some point in the future. So it's got to be able to be used for more than one thing. I also think that if we renovate City Hall or Village Hall, the gym's gone. I mean, because if we're going to renovate City or Village Hall, we should renovate it for the things we need the most. And those things are a community gathering space and staff's office space. So one of my questions I would like to know is if, when the new school is done, the gym or gyms up there, are they available to be used in the evening time by our residents?
Yes.
Is there some sort of, and the same with any other gathering space there that might be able to be used? I mean, is the lunchroom able to be used for an event? So my thoughts are is to renovate Village Hall with a very good gathering space and office space. And the second thing is, I wonder, and I'm not looking at like the same plan that was in what was suggested by the task force. I think that our gathering space you should be able to walk into from street level and then have office space above.
What if office space was below?
In the basement?
Well, you said street level, so.
Yeah, but the basement's
That building
not-
goes up and down, so
Yes,
what are you
that-
thinking? I guess.
I'm thinking that it's going to be renovated so that you can come from street level into the building. Not up the stairs and,
Renovation like that, as far as walking in and having your community space, which means you put the people, our office staff downstairs?
no, I'm saying there'd
Just
be a second.
Have a level above that?
Yes. Oops. Just a thought.
Well, and I don't think anybody's here to judge anybody's
Oh, no,
thought
it's-
processes. I think it's just,
So I'm wondering if we can build a second level, and, you know, and obviously, we can't get exact costs, but what's a ballpark figure doing that? I'm done, for now.
that's it?
That's it for now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to reiterate what Cindy said about the elementary school. That was my question. Do we have any MOU in place at this point with them about what we can use in the building after hours, weekends?
Right now, we have, I want to say it's 9 hours per week for priority scheduling, but that's just city-related, nothing for other community groups. They do this. The school district does have a facilities use policy, so what I would probably going to attempt to do is get those policies and then ask some follow-up questions once I've read over those policies and then present that to the council.
Okay, so when you talk about their other facility use policies, is that, if you know the answer to this, is that something where then the CCYBSA could call them on their own and schedule space and pay for space? So there might be availability that way outside of the 9 hours for the city?
Yeah, I mean, just from a personal experience with my kids involved with other, like Chaska basketball, you know, that Chaska Youth Basketball Association or Baseball Association rents gym space at the middle schools and the high schools, so I'd imagine it'd be the same protocol or process for the elementary school here, but I'd follow up with that. But that's how those associate, they contact the district directly and then schedule as that space is available.
As Cindy was saying, she listened very hard. We have all listened very hard to what the residents have had to say. And what I have also heard is that a new building is not supported at this time. And I agree with that. I think that from what I have heard and what we need, the repair option is going to be the best option. I think we have a chance to make the outside of the building much more inviting than it is now. It is not a great-looking building from the outside right now, but I do understand the spatial needs for the city staff and the offices. They're tightly packed in there, and I think it's time to add on and provide more space as we do grow. If the new building, a new building, were to supply us with something additional or different or new, I could maybe wrap my head around it a little bit easier. What I see right now is we're going from having city offices and a meeting space to building something new that is city offices and a meeting space. And I just don't think that we're prepared to have or to take on something that large at this time. So what I have heard and what I think is a great option right now is the repair. It gives us some more space for those staff offices, but allows us to still have a fairly large space for community gatherings in the basement. And I believe an elevator was included in that price, was it not? So that will take care of some of those ADA issues that we've had to deal with in the past.
Just clarifying, when you say repair, that's the $675,000 option?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
I meant
talking renovate for
Yes,
$3 million?
excuse me.
Okay,
Yes, the
all right.
renovate.
I just want to be sure.
No, thank you for that. I apologize. I meant the renovate.
Well, I've done a lot of listening.
Hold on. Are you,
I am finished.
okay, I didn't want to cut you off.
Not only was I listening in all the listening sessions, but I listened around town to everybody, because everybody has an opinion on it. I look at Village Hall. I've spent a lot of time in Village Hall, done a lot of stuff in Village Hall, and it served its purpose. We need space. When we renovate, we are basically taking our whole community space and cutting it in more than half. We're taking out the top. It's gone. It's offices now. Now you're taking, well, let's just take, for instance, the firemen's when they have their pork chop dinners. Last one, they served, 670 people, and they stage them upstairs. They have nowhere to stage them. It's February. Everybody's going to be waiting outside. There's no room. There's just no room anymore. On the total rental, it's putting a second floor in. I understand it. But that $3 million just became $6 million. And it's still...
I would like more than just your opinion that it's safe.
I respect that. But there's a lot more to that than just putting a second floor in. But I like the concept, but I don't, it's time for people to think outside the box. I believe that with as much growth that we have expecting to come into town, and I believe there's going to be a lot more commercial than we currently believe is coming down the pike. It's not if, it's when. I mean, since I've been on the council, we've added 1,200 people to the city, which is less than 8 years. And that's going through the rebound from the recession and whatever. So, honestly, it's time for us to think about our city staff, their office needs. I don't know how many people have been into the offices, but there's no room. They can't change their mind in there without ruffling papers on somebody else's desk. It's that cramped. There's nowhere to have any corporate meetings for when potential developers or anybody come to town. It's time. And as much as I respect and have listened to everybody's opinions, I've heard a lot of people that said, blow it up, start from scratch. What are you gonna do with the space, the village hall, when you have a new city hall? I've heard a lot of people tell me that. They assume that we're gonna build it. What are we gonna do with what's there? We haven't had that task force yet. I don't know what that answer is. But what I do know that, for lack of a better analogy, City Hall, as it sits, the village hall is a pig. Doing any renovations to it at all, whether they're exterior, doing the remodels, putting in the kitchen downstairs, whatever we do to it, it's still a pig. It's just putting lipstick on it. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's all I have.
That's all, yes, sure. So what I heard, because I'm listening as well, I heard at 15,000 feet that there's a capacity within this community, whether there's a capacity for a new building, whether there's a capacity for a renovation. At the end of the day, there's a $3 million capacity in this community. And there's a couple of things. When we say that the people have spoken, there were like 45, lack of a better number, 50 responses. Something in that line. I think there were 4,500 signatures on a petition for Carver Crossing that I think it took courage to lead, and it took courage to do the right thing and vote for Carver Crossing. So with the things that have been said here, with city offices, community space, I'd like to go back to, we do have 6 guiding principles put together by 38 individuals that were involved in a task force that lasted close to a year, and put together those guiding principles based upon the fact, rated options based upon the fact of those guiding principles. Those are 2 things. $3 million put into that building, and I appreciate the comment that we can sell that building. It's my opinion that the reality is that we will never be able to sell that building. We've tried to sell it to a number of entities right now for $1, and nobody's taken it. If we put $3 million into that, I guarantee you we're not getting $3 million out of it. And for me personally, there's also one other thing that's really not being taken into consideration at all, and that's parking. We can have a town of 10,000 people very quickly. We're about to go over 5,000. We are not going to be an LGA. We're going to be a state aid city. We won't be, the county doesn't have our roads anymore. We will have them. We have an obligation, in my opinion, to give the community and the people involved with it what we need long term. And while it's not ideal that we have to look at potentially building a building at this point, I don't think anywhere is it written that we have to spend $8 million. That's one estimate. I think we have flexibility on that. We have been talking about this since I've been on the council, and this is my 19th year. And we've never come up with a consensus. We've never put together a task force. This task force came up with recommendations, and I think they're the best recommendations that we have. So moving that along, a $3 million renovation makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't think we've identified every problem in that building, certainly not with that southwest corner, plus being right next to a river, a creek, that we have had problems in the past. I think that location can be better served for the businesses downtown in a number of different ways. And that's, I think Councilmember Henry brings it up, and that's a whole nother task force. But if we're going to put together a task force on that, I think that we owe it to our people that are involved to follow the task force recommendation here. And a capacity for $3 million to renovate a building that we're never going to get another nickel out of, I think is commendable, but I also think that it is a waste of money, and I would like to get the numbers. For me, the question I have after that long diatribe really truly is, worst case scenario on an $8 million building is $388 as we speak per household, correct? Per 300, correct, per $300,000 house. I would like what that $8 million building would cost 5 years down the road and 10 years down the road. And I would like to see, based upon our current projections of, you know, we've heard a lot about wait until we can support this. Well, the understanding of city finance would be that what we can afford, we should do now, because it's only going to get more affordable. It can't get more expensive, and it's only going to get more affordable as we add people. So I would like to understand, with the current projections that we have for population, what that would do to that $388 number over the course of time as we add people. And I think the most important number for me is based upon what that building would cost in 10 years and the people that we would have then, what that building, A, would cost, and B, would cost each individual household. That's my only question. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to add, either to a list of questions? Mr. Merrick, I'm going to give you a chance in just a second to, if you have any clarifications. Anything else at this point? Cindy just moved her microphone. She's not going to speak.
You can hear me.
Mr. Merrick?
So I'm just going to follow
Oh,
up.
hold on one second.
I have
Sorry.
a question. Looking at my notes from our last meeting, I know that a question was asked to look into the neighboring communities' debt percentages to see how it compares to what our debt is that we're carrying in the city now. Can that be done? So someone
Looks
had,
like- yeah.
I'm just reading off my notes. So someone had asked the question about the amount of debt that we carry as a city, and a comparison by percentage of how much we carry as compared to, let's say, Chaska or Victoria or something like that would carry.
So would you want that for our existing debt or a debt using a certain option?
I think our current would be good to know.
I can pull that information fairly easily. The auditor in their report, they do a series of data analysis points, and they look at how our debt service compares with peer cities, so I can pull that report. Is that, or do you want to have specific cities?
Could I ask what the point of that is?
Because we heard from a few residents talking about how much.
Heard from
and-
Roland's wife on that.
Which is
One.
great. And Courtney asked a similar question from the comments that came out of our last meeting. So I think it'd just be nice information to have to see how the percentage of debt that we carry right now in comparison to the surrounding cities, if we're a lot higher, same, lower.
So debt versus like tax capacity or debt? I can't
Yes.
recall. Okay. With like the cities in the school district and Chaska, Chan,
That
Victoria.
would be great, yes.
Well, if we're going to ask that question, then I'd like the of similar sized cities. I'd like of similar, and we can add growth cities on the periphery, on the outskirts, with access to a major thoroughfare.
I have a note here too that said that I believe it was put out that we're at 80% of our borrowing capacity, or we would be. The calculations are lost on the emails
that's-
that
I think it's our bonding capacity, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Lori Economy Scholler is very versed in that, but I think it's I don't know if, I mean, there's the net demo limits at some point refer to annual, debt limits, so it's a slippery slope when you depending upon what analysis you want to perform and how that information is going to be used, I can certainly prepare the information related to debt as a percentage of tax capacity with our neighboring cities and peer cities, and I can certainly ask Springstead to do that net debt limit explanation. That was a really long-winded way of answering that question, but.
Yeah, then I want just one more thing.
Sure.
Just one more thing. Could we get some sort of spreadsheet that shows us all the debt we have now and when it drops off? You know, any issuance of bonds and when they mature, so that we can kind of see when some of our debt drops off?
Since we're at it, can you check with the same communities on how many cities provide a community gathering space when it comes to like a meeting space or a hall for a breakfast or a pork chop dinner? Or can you see where maybe the surrounding areas where those are held?
For just a meeting space or a meeting space and like banquet space?
Sure. You can delineate. Kind of randomly going, so I think we should either keep it up or that's all you got. Hank, you good? The lipstick thing?
You like that,
I like that.
So if I can just make sure I have everything, I'm going to run through what our work plan is essentially. So one, we're going to get information related to whether or not Village Hall is a historic property. We're going to look at, is there any asbestos in the existing Village Hall? Number 3, we're going to provide a map of where the floodplain is located at the wastewater treatment plant site. 4, we're going to provide a timeline for construction for all the options that were presented. 5, we're going to work with Springstead on preparing a debt limit discussion kind of analysis as it relates to our tax capacity. 6, we're going to reach out to the folks with the Trinity and Hartman developments to get their input on whether or not any of the options would have an impact on their development projects. We're going to reach out to the school district on the use of the gyms and whether or not they'd be available for gatherings, lunches, banquets, etc. Number 8.
Can I interrupt for just a second? I'm wondering if their kitchen facilities would be available.
Yep, kitchen facility.
Okay.
We're going to go back to Leo A. Daly and get some pricing concepts related to the existing Village Hall site and some different configurations. Number 9, we're going to look at an analysis related to the cost of construction related to inflation and its relationship to projected growth. We're going to do an analysis on debt as a percentage of tax capacity with neighboring and peer cities. We're going to provide a debt schedule of the city's existing debt with debt payoff. We're going to do an analysis with neighboring and peer cities on whether or not they provide meeting room space. And we're going to do an analysis with neighboring and peer cities on whether or not they provide banquet space.
Could we add one more thing? Sorry, I was thinking as we were going. If we go with the renovation on current City Hall / Village Hall, if I remember correctly, the offices are upstairs, which now the elevator goes kind of in the middle, which would bisect where the kitchen is. So here's the question that I have is, could we get the square footage of the bottom level for the meeting space that is actually usable as meeting space, and with either the upgraded bathrooms or, I'm just curious, I think.
Can Mark give us the capacity for that too? Can Mark give us the capacity number for that?
And let's add to that, how many parking spots are available downtown nobody parking, so just how many are available parking spaces in all of downtown? Because we're gonna need it. We'll
How
need
would you
them all.
define downtown?
Anywhere within a 4-block radius of community or city hall. I don't think you want to walk 5 blocks to go to anything. I don't know, maybe. Would you walk 5 blocks to go to?
I have to. Well, not on the
I
way
walk
there,
5 blocks a lot.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Let's move on to 9.2, protecting local control.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet is a resolution for your consideration in support of local control. The League of Minnesota Cities had a legislative conference was it 2 weeks ago now? Councilmember Mock and Mayor Webb and I attended, and the league provided some information related to kind of a unique trend to this legislative session where there is numerous bills that seek to impact local control of city councils. One of them, as an example, and it's in your information is in your packet, relates to the adoption of the city's annual levy throughout the state, where once the levy is set in December, there would be a period up to June of the following year where a reverse referendum could be called for, and if the referendum on the levy failed, then for the following year's levy the levy would be in turn turned back to the previous level. Aside from kind of the referendum piece, it puts cities in a position where there's basically the first 6 months of the year they're spending money on the existing levy, and someone could come in on May 31st with a petition and then ask for that referendum. And that's just an example in your packet. There's a listing of those bills that are restricting municipal authority, along with some fact sheets prepared by the League of Minnesota Cities. The League has actually reached out to some of the other organizations, the Association of Small Cities, I think, as one, Metro Cities, Minnesota Association of Small Cities, and Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, and they put together a letter which is dated March 20th, 2017 in your packets, essentially summarizing the issue. And what the League is doing is they're putting out this template resolution and asking cities to adopt it and then send to their local representatives and then to the League that they can use when they're speaking on cities' behalf regarding some of these proposed legislation, or some of this proposed legislation. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 116-17, supporting local decision-making authority.
I'll second.
2 seconds.
Come on, I was at the meeting.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I would also, at this stage, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Monroe.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 115-17, approving certain drainage and utility easements in conjunction with a plat for development known as Carver Square.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'd just like to add thank you for all your work on that. That's been a great project, so you too, Dan. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Back to Monroe.
I will be attending the Carver County Leaders Meeting tomorrow morning, so that's about all I know.
Enjoy the coffee.
I don't drink the coffee there. It's only because I only drink 1 cup of coffee, and that's right when I get up.
Johnson. Sorry, Councilmember Johnson.
I don't have anything.
Mark? Kombucha.
I don't have anything.
Hank?
I got nothing.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, Mr. Merrick, I apologize.
Just
Sorry,
a-
Brent.
Thank you. Just a follow-up from our work session, we'll get something posted tomorrow, but Brian in Public Services they're working out the logistics with the hauler on the cleanup day, and so we'll get something out. The city will still be doing the cleanup day. It's just the project has become quite an undertaking for the hauler, and so we're trying to work out some of those details with them. So the cleanup will still occur. It's just going to happen a little bit later on in the spring as opposed to late April, early May. But we should have some type of resolution to that issue in the next few weeks, and then we'll do our best to get the word out to everybody well in advance so they can prepare.
Good point. Well, good catch. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. That is, it was iced Americano.